guys, how you doing? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mr. VTech, and today we're coming back with the second banning video on 10 questions that you could potentially have if you're studying or if you're looking to study PGCE in 2025 or even later on. So question number 1, what is PGCE and how does it differ from other teacher training routes? PGCE stands for Postgraduate Certificate in Education. It's usually a university-based route. So people would study and at the same time they would teach. There's also a skit. So skit is something that I did. This is similar to PGCE, but it's usually done with partnership. So it's not directly with the university, but it's with the partner of the university. There's also Teach First, which is usually 2 years studying, and then you would receive your salary within that. So question number 2, do I need a degree in a subject I want to teach? It's a yes and no. So if you want to do PGCE secondary, you would need to get a degree in a subject or linked to a subject that you want to teach. If you're doing primary, not specifically. You can get other degrees are acceptable in there, okay? Because you're teaching more than just maths, more than just science, more than just English. You're teaching a range of different topics, but as a slightly lower level. So you don't need to be specialized in directly a specific subject. Question number 3, what qualifications do I need in order to apply for PGCE? Again, there's two different ways, two different answers for them. So you need a university-based qualifications, and then you need a school-based qualifications, which is GCSE. Within GCSE, you would need 2 of them, English and maths, if you want to do secondary. Within English and maths, you need to get from grade 4 all the way to grade 9. If you do not have them, there is other ways of doing it. You could do a equivalency testing, okay, which I would actually provide 2 links down in the description box, and you guys can check them out. For an example, if you don't specifically have English and maths, you can do equivalency testing. It's usually about 100 quid, but they're running about every 2 weeks. Rather than if you want to do GCSE, then you would need to find a provider. And then those GCSEs only happen within once a year or July. Okay, so if you need to retake, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Then there is a university-based qualification. A university-based qualification, they accept usually 2 different ways. There is a second-class degree, okay, which is called 2 and 2, and this is accepted within majority of universities in England for a PGCE. Now, there is some universities that started to accept a third class degree, but not all, because usually PGCE courses, they desire either first class degree or second class degree. So question number 4, what's the difference between primary and secondary PGCE? Very nice and simple answer for this, okay? So you got primary PGCE, which is directly focused within primary school. So you're teaching from the reception all the way to year 6. And then secondary PGCE is when you're teaching from year 7 all the way to 6th form. So the way it's laid out is, for an example, secondary, you got key stage 3. It's from classes or years from year 7 all the way to year 9. Then you got key stage 4, which is from year 10 all the way to year 11. And then you have key stage 5, which is usually year 12 and year 13. So the ages range all the way from 11 years of age to 16 years of age. That is secondary. Primary is from reception all the way to year 6, which is about 11 years of age. Good. Question number 5, guys. So how do I choose the right training provider or universities? There's 2 ways to look at this. You look at how far is the university away from you, and you also look at, for an example, what kind of school you'll be learning in. For an example, there is Ofsted reports that you guys can check out. Every time, if you're applying through Gov.uk, which is the primary way to apply for a PGCE course, they would directly show which school you'll be doing your training in. And then there you can directly note it down, go into Google, check Ofsted report, and then it'll give you a good idea what kind of school it is. Also, you can look at different reviews. There's plenty of them online, and there's other ways of you can consider which kind of route or which university provider you want to go with. Apart from Ofsted reports and how good the school is, you can also check out the departments, and you can find that out. For an example, if you guys are teaching design technology, you can find out if the department that you're going to be doing your training in, or the school that you're going to be doing your training in, do they have a good developed design and technology department? This way you can consider, or you can find out if it's really worth it for you to go in there, and so on. Other ways is different services that universities or schools can provide you. You can also find out online. Next question number 6. How competitive is it to get into PGCE course? Again, it's a very tricky answer. I mean, it's a very tricky question, and it's a tricky answer I'm going to give you. Usually, I wouldn't say it's very, very competitive, because the government needs a lot of people to apply for teaching, because there is significant loss of teachers. They're just moving away from the careers, choosing other paths. So the way I can explain this is that it can be quite competitive if you don't have the right experience. So what I mean is that some people, before they apply for PGCE, they would decide to go to other schools and get on the experience that is required. For an example, they can work as a teacher assistant, they can work as a technician, just like what I did. I worked for 1.5 years as a technician before I applied for PGCE. So what I did is I built up a good set of skills, or teacher skills, that PGCE course would be looking for. But I saw plenty of instances where people, they didn't have any prior experience within school, within working as a teacher experience or anything like that, but they still got onto the course. Depends on how they look at you, how they view you, what kind of skills can they identify within you during the interview panel. Question number 7. What kind of placements will I get during the PGCE year? There is usually 2 placements. You would get your primary placement, which is your main placement within a school, and you would work there from all the way from September until December, and then after Christmas break, you'll come back for 2 weeks, and then you would go for your secondary placement, which will last anywhere from about 5 to 6 weeks, usually a half term. And then you would come back to your original placement and do the rest of the year there. If you're doing a PGCE through university, then they could sometimes provide you, or they could request you to do 3 different placements. Your first main placement, your set, and then 2 other short placements. Sometimes they can vary 1 week or 2 weeks. Okay, so that's how quick they are. What they do, why do you have to do 2 different placements, is because they would want you to experience different educational environments, not just within your primary one. Question number 8. What does a typical week look like on a PGCE course? I answered this question in depth on my first video. So if you haven't seen it, click off this video, go back to the first one and check it out. It's pretty good. I give a bunch of nice little details there. But I can still go through a little bit here, nice and briefly. Week to week base, or how does your week look like, ranges. It depends. If you're teaching, let's say in September, or your week in September will differ than the week in the last term of school. Why? Is because there's slightly different workloads. So when you start off, you're only going to be teaching about 30% of the teacher's timetable, which is quite reduced. And then you would have plenty of time in order to integrate, in order to get used to, and then you would have some other little time in order to complete the tasks. As you go throughout the year, your work level increases slightly, so you have a little bit more stuff to do. So for an example, in the second term, you would be doing slightly more hours within teaching, and in the last term, you'll be on around 80% of the teacher's timetable. But at the same time, you have to do weekly tasks, weekly observations, weekly mentor meetings, and on top of that, there will be essays that you would have to complete. It's quite intensive, but it's progressive at the same time. Okay, so they're not gonna just throw you in the deep end and then that's it. So you would have a little bit of time to get used to as you go along. Question number 9. How much funding or bursary can I get for teacher training? This depends. It depends on which subject you want to teach. If you want to teach design technology, I received about 20,000 bursary. That is without paying tax. So without paying tax, you would definitely see the difference, and that should be enough. But there's other subjects that would provide you with a slightly less bursary, and that could be worrying. Okay, so for an example, if you're going to be teaching music, that is less. If you're doing languages, that can be slightly less. So those kind of subjects, they would provide you with a bursary which is around 12,000, 15,000. If you want to teach a subject which is maths, English, or science, those are slightly higher. So those bursaries, they can provide you ranging from 25 all the way to 30. And then the last question number 10, we got to the end finally. If you guys are here, click like, click share, subscribe. You guys are just wonderful. Okay, let's go for question number 10. How hard is PGCE, and what's the workload like? Again, I went through this question on the first video, so if you really want to find out the answer to that, but you're quite in depth, you can click off this video, go back to the first one. But quickly, I would say it's quite intensive, but at the same time, just like I said, it will progress through. So they're not going to just throw you in the deep end and that's it. They would make sure that you can adjust and you can get used to the workload. So it's intensive. It's a little bit hard. You will have a bunch of different things that you guys would need to do and keep up at the same time. My top tips, I would say, is manage your time. So what I mean by that is make sure that you having a good time management, so that you doing the tasks as you go along. Do not leave them behind, because you would eventually need to catch up and they would make you catch up. So you would have to go back and then make sure you do all that work. You want to make sure that you're doing work as you go along. I know it's difficult, but it's definitely doable. And it's much better than leaving stuff behind. So I have answered all the questions, and if there's any other questions that you guys want to, but I never specifically touched on within this video, then you can just drop a comment down and I would definitely answer that as soon as I can. Or I can make a video about it. I appreciate you guys watching. If you're still here, that is amazing. You're just wonderful. Click like, subscribe, and share this video. Please support my content. More videos are on their way. Thank you for watching and peace out.
Subscribe to my channel.